Hey, I'm Keith Kepner. With this video, we're going to talk about your duty of discipline and how you can build effective systems into your life. This video is for anyone who feels like they should or could be doing more, or maybe something different with their life. Maybe you feel like you're missing something, or maybe you're on the right path, but you feel like you can maximize what you're doing. Now, why should you listen to me? Well, I battled a chronic illness for about 10 years, Lyme disease. And I also boxed in the United States and in Mexico. That journey for me ended abruptly in 2010. It was actually July 4th, 2010. And I had a severe neck injury. And at that point in my life, I really had nothing. I just had a GED because I'd done so little schooling because of having Lyme disease. And I almost ended up filing for disability with it. And then I had no money, no college, no girlfriend, nothing really in my life. Boxing was my life at that time, and it all ended with nothing. So at that time, I was sleeping in a basement, actually my sister's basement, on a mattress on the floor, on a concrete floor. And that was my life. And it was then that I realized that no one was going to come and save me. I had to get my own life together at about the age of 24. And I had to build systems to do that. And then I was responsible for all this because no one was going to change it for me. I had to change. And the best way to change something is through systems. But in order to set systems, you have to set a target for that system to hit. Because there's three main parts, simple parts of the system. You have the input, the process, and the output of the system. And the output is synonymous with your outcome. What are you after, right? You can't just create an elegant system and not know what you're wanting it to produce, all right? So you have to understand what your outcomes are. And think about it. Setting outcomes and goals for yourself, there's a reason why a lot of us don't do it. There's really two reasons. The first one is it's hard. Isn't that the reason most of us don't do something? It's because it's hard. So therefore, the privilege of setting outcomes, goals, and targets are reserved for the few people who choose to do the hard work. But remember, my friend, everything is hard before it is easy. Just because it's hard, just because you feel resistance, doesn't mean you shouldn't do it, and it doesn't mean it's not going to get easier. It just means you have to get better. Very important distinction there. But what happens with most of us in our life is that because it's hard to do, we don't do it, and then we end up following other people who do, or maybe just happen to be put in a position of leadership. Have you ever experienced that? Where maybe you're having to follow somebody that set a certain objective or target for the company or the organization you're with, and maybe you didn't feel like it was the right thing, or maybe it wasn't aligned with what you thought would actually accomplish what the mission is, all right? But remember, when you step up into that position of leadership and you set your own goals and targets, then that responsibility lies on you. And it's a challenge, but it's also a great privilege that you can choose to take on, and I challenge you to do it. But it's the first step. You have to set the target. Remember, you can't hit a target you can't see, right? You're just firing off into the dark. And the second reason, though, that a lot of us don't set a goal or a target to hit is out of fear. Fear of what? Fear of obtaining it? No. Fear of looking stupid. Fear of not hitting it. Fear like you messed up, or maybe you're really a loser, right? And that's why you didn't hit it. But you have to remember that it's not always about the target necessarily. I know that sounds counterintuitive, but with life, when you set a lofty target, when you set a goal, when you set an outcome, sometimes it's not always about hitting that target. Most of the time, it's about who you become in the process. All right? So let me boil it down to something real simple, right? Because it's easy to get convoluted with business and things like that, but let's just talk about health, right? If maybe you set a target for yourself to lose weight, generally, that's a good target, generally. But if you start to do unhealthy things in order to lose that weight, who are you becoming in the process? You're becoming unhealthy. And originally, the idea of losing weight was probably to gain more health, right? So you lost the true outcome by only following the metric. So it's an important distinction there. Now, you set that target for yourself. You set a goal to hit. So now you can go for it. But if you leave it off there, if you stop there, that's what losers do. Losers set goals, set lofty dreams, set lofty ideals for themselves, but they don't have the system. All right? Now, that's what we're going to talk about, how to build out these systems. Now, right before I tell you the exact steps, the nitty-gritty basic stuff of how to build out an effective system, I want to first tell you, though, about a very important perspective that you need to have going into this that I see far too many people struggle with, because I coach individuals with their businesses and also help our team members out with the business that I built up. That's something I left out, is that I went from having no high school education, a GED, no college, etc., to build a multiple six-figure business from scratch and then build it into a franchise that can offer that business opportunity to other individuals and help them grow and achieve their dreams. Now, this is where I see people get tripped up, is they will get ready, they'll aim, and then they'll keep aiming. And then they'll aim, get ready some more. Oh, they don't feel ready. I want to get a little bit more ready. They'll let me aim. They never fire, all right? So what you have to adopt is the concept, very simple, of just ready, fire, aim. All right, ready, fire, aim. I know what you're saying. Oh man, if I just get ready and fire and then aim, I might hit something wrong. Well, that's okay. That's gonna happen, because even if you ready, aim, and then fire, you still might mess up, right? That's how life is. That's how business is. That's how health is. That's how anything is. What can happen is you get stuck in that cycle. Just ready, aim, get ready, and then you half-ass fire, and you get poor results, and then you feel like, oh, well, this didn't work out. This was the wrong thing. I need to go do something else. All right, let me tell you, my friend, you need to get ready. You need to fire, and then regroup. Use what comes out of that as feedback for maybe what you did right or what you did wrong. You need to get right next time. All right, so it's very important, because you can have the most elegant system. You can have your outcome, your perfect outcome, the goal that you're after, and you're super juiced about it, pumped up and motivated, and you have a great system that I'm going to give you to get there. But if you just consume this information and do nothing with it, you're getting ready. You might be aiming. How do I do that? How do I do this? Oh, that's how I do that? Okay, cool. But you never fire. All right? So ready, fire, aim. Very important. Now let's go into brass tacks. All right? You need two things. And a binder would be a great third thing. All right? But two main things you need here. You need notebook paper, and you need graph paper. Now, at the end of the day, do you really need notebook paper or graph paper? No, you just need paper, all right? Or do you really need paper? No, you just need your phone or computer or something. But I tell you, paper is really great, because writing things on paper is a psychoneuromotor activity. So it's taking stuff from your brain, it's actually putting it into the physical world versus typing on a keyboard. And so it can be a better thing for some of us. I know it is for myself, all right? So let's start off first with how you can build effective systems into your life. So you're gonna use these two pieces of paper. All right, sounds simple, but stay with me here. And you're gonna finish your day before you start it. You might have heard this before, but let me tell you, my friend, if you haven't done it and done it consistently, well, you don't know it. You just know of it. You don't know it, you need to do it. All right, so what this is let's say the night before a day starts, all right? That's finishing my day before it starts. I have my day finished before it starts. I'm gonna write out what I need to do to step forward, to have that +1 every day to move myself towards my outcomes, all right? And you include everything within your day, really, all the main stuff, all right? Maybe don't include going to the bathroom, maybe don't include, I don't know, getting gas, maybe, but just all the main stuff, all right? Include eating, include exercise, include the things that you choose to do. And remember, everything you choose to do, right? Because you can say, oh, well, I have to go to work, or I have to do this, or I have to do that, I have to X, Y, Z. No, guess what? You don't have to do anything, because you could actually just lay in your bed all day and do nothing. Now, there would be consequences from that. That would be undesirable. That wouldn't move you towards your outcome, but you don't have to do any of that stuff. So have that level of ownership, of leadership. Step forward into the duty of discipline that you choose to do anything and everything that you do. All right? Have that responsibility with yourself in your life. All right? So anyway, you write out all the items. All right? So I have all my items written out. Let me see here. Let me get a piece of paper that has that. All right? So here's a day where I wrote out all my items. And then you'll see some of those are crossed off there. So what I did is I transferred those to my graph paper, and as I transferred them, and the ones that I didn't transfer were ones I didn't mark off because they're going to keep on my list because maybe they didn't fit into that day. I wrote them down so that they're captured, so that they're there, so that they're in the physical world. Remember, because if you just let things stay up in your head, they can get lost easily and be dead, right? You got to get them out somewhere to record them, and we're going to talk about that later. So I transferred them to my piece of paper. My piece of paper is going to be my strategy for my day. So here's like one of my days. I have 8 a.m. is when it starts. I have the date at the top, and I have from 8 to 9:30 what I'm going to get done in that time. And then from 9:30 to 10, etc., etc. I have food here. And then I have some white space here you might see. Oh goodness, white space? Yeah, well it's good because you might need to fill it with something that you missed earlier, and then you can still mark it off. Or maybe you just need to have a moment. Maybe something came up. Maybe a personal situation happened that you have to address, etc., etc. You know, there's going to be some unanticipated circumstances that happen in our days, and that's okay. All right, but let me tell you, my friend, what happens when you do this, all right? The beautiful thing that happens the moment you do this, and as you do this over time, is when you wake up that morning with your day drawn out exactly how it's going to be. You know exactly what your outcomes are. You know exactly what your targets are and what you need to go after. You wake up with more energy, more motivation, more positivity, and more of everything. More of that zest for life that we all want. And at the end of the day, you'll have that sense of fulfillment. But the reason why you wake up with more energy is because you have exactly what you need to go after. There's no more of this fog that so many of us live in. And we all live there from time to time. Think about this modern age. We have so many opportunities, so many different possibilities, so many different things we can do, right? And we're surrounded by it's like death by 1,000 cuts, right? Death by 1,000 options. You have, oh, this thing over here, that sounds cool. Oh, what about that thing over there? That sounds pretty cool. That seems like, oh, what about that? What about Bitcoin? What about, all these different things you hear about. And maybe if you take a couple steps towards one, you go, no, you go this way, I'm gonna go this way a little bit, and go this way a little bit. And then you end up where? Exactly where you are now. All right, what you have to do is commit yourself to a target, to an outcome. That's the first step. So you're going to start moving towards that. And then you have to set the exact systems to get there, because if you just have the goal, that's what losers do. Winners set the strategy and the systems to get themselves to that target. All right, that's the difference. And remember, I want to give you one more analogy just to drive home with the ready, fire, aim, because I know a lot of people watching this. I know you may be watching this. Maybe you feel, well, that's going to sound like disaster might happen. Well, let me give you a real world analogy that hopefully can impact you the way it impacts me. And that's that, let's say you're in a situation that's like a self-defense situation where somebody breaks into your house, right? You know, your family's there, or, you know, maybe it's just you in your house, doesn't matter. Someone's breaking into your house, all right? So you go and get something to defend yourself. Let's say, you know, it's a gun. Now, remember, you know what they say, that you don't want to pull that thing out unless you're ready to use it, all right? Because what some people will do is they'll pull it out and they'll freeze and they won't fire. All right, that's the worst thing they can do. Best thing they do is they pull it out and they're going to fire it and use it to protect themselves, to protect their family. All right, but just like with that or with our life, we will pull it out. You know, we'll pull out the tool to save a life, to save our life, and we won't fire. All right, very important. You got to fire. You got to take charge. You got to go after it. You got to pull the trigger. You got to do it. You got to do it. And you're going to do it with these systems. All right. Now, what might happen? You might go through a day, right? Worst case scenario, you get to cross off nothing. And by the way, though, as you cross out, because it won't be like this, as you cross things off throughout your day, you're going to feel great about yourself, because every time you do that, when you transfer your list from your notebook paper to your graph paper, you cross it off. And as you do that, you're actually releasing micro hits of dopamine, right? The same thing you feel when you do a shot of alcohol. You're feeling that when you transfer it to your list. Then as you go throughout your day, it helps keep your energy up. You're crossing off your list. You're accomplishing. You can actually see the accomplishment happen. So often in our lives, we don't get a chance to see our progress until the end result, let's say. This is the way you get to see it, all right? But worst case scenario, you get half your list done. Let's say, you get a third of your list done. You're going to do better than that. But there's going to be things you don't hit. There's going to be maybe you might get lucky. I've had many days where everything on the list is done and woo, that was a good day. I really had a great strategy for that day. But there's going to be some things you miss. What you do at the end of the day is you regroup. Before you go to bed, you finish your day the next day before it starts, all right? And you finish your next day before you end that day by sitting down with a piece of paper. You look at the items on your list that didn't get done. Those go to your notebook paper that you're going to write out for what needs to get done the next day, all right? Along with other items that might have come up. But again, it's very important as you write out these items to make sure they're moving you towards your goal, because you can do a lot of motion, and mistake that for achievement, all right? So let's say you want to start your own business. You could read 1,000 books about starting your own business. But until you actually form the LLC, until you, for instance, like maybe sign the lease, right? Or figure out what concept you're gonna go with, or maybe if you're gonna do a franchise, figure out that. Until you do that, that's just a bunch of motion, all right? You have to actually start doing action and get some achievement happen, because motion can lie to you. It can make you feel good. It can make you feel like progress. And you can be doing a lot of things, be doing these systems, but if it's not moving you towards your outcome and your goal, it's not actually the system we want to be working, all right? But what happens though is when you miss items, they just go on that list and they get pushed over to the next day. And it's great because nothing gets lost. Because how often have you turned around and 2 weeks later, you're like, oh man, I was supposed to do that one thing, and it totally got lost because it wasn't written down anywhere. There wasn't a system to make sure you stayed on track. It was in your head and it died, all right? And you forgot it because you're busy. We're all busy. And don't get down on yourself about it. We're all human beings, but that's why you have to use the tools, right? You have to use this amazing tool inside our skull called our brain, and then our hands, to write out these items or record them in some form or fashion, all right? But let's say you had a really horrible day and you really planned it out wrong, right? You put up too many things back to back. Guess what? The next day, use that as feedback. Put some more white space. I've done that plenty of time where I had a whole day stacked up with different items here, there. I recommend planning no often than every 30 minutes, all right? So put some items within that, but don't try to draw it every 15 minutes because you're driving yourself crazy like that. But let's say you have it planned out and you realize, oh man, I put like 4 items in this hour and I got one of those items done. All right, realize with that type of item, you probably need to allocate more time, all right? Use it as feedback, and over time, you will perfect your system. Because remember, you have the input, the material you need to get done. You have your process, which is utilizing this form of planning your day before you start it. And then you have your output, which is not only what it produces, the outcome, but the output is also how well the system is working. And you can perfect your system over time by getting better at understanding how to use it and how your day works and how you best function. Because also too, I could give you exactly how I might plan out every single moment of my day. And a lot of times we'll get caught up in this type of psychology and we'll try to rip off someone else's plan exactly how they do it, like moment by moment. Like they wake up at this time, they go to bed at this time, they eat at this time, they eat this type of food. Guess what? You're not them. You gotta find what's right for you. But this is a great way that you can get the right outputs to get that feedback of what's working, what's not working, and adjust it. Because systems are essential, but even more essential is stepping forward into the duty of discipline. The discipline to use the systems, the discipline to stay committed to your systems and to your desired outcome. And remember, worst case scenario, in striving towards your desired outcome and having the discipline to do that, worst case scenario, you'll be better off than when you started.